Hey y'all, welcome back to Business in Blue. I'm your host, Leah Harper, and today we have a very special guest in the studio for our last episode for this season. And he's not a stranger because he's been here before. Please help me welcome back President Bill Hardgrave. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, how are you feeling?
I'm nervous because I'm on your show.
Nervous?
Yeah, I mean, you've been on mine. Now I'm on yours.
I know.
Yeah.
We had to trade off, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start off with all things Memphis because,
Sure.
Our college is University of Memphis. So we know that Memphis is more than just a college town. It's a college city. So I want to know, how does the uniqueness of our city impact the university and set us apart from other institutions?
You know, one of the things that I didn't know about the university until I came here as president was the importance of this university to the city. And it really struck me. Maybe I'd only been here a few months, and I was at some meeting downtown, a lot of people, and then Mayor Strickland was talking to this group, and he talked about the three pillars that held up the city of Memphis: FedEx, St. Jude, and the University of Memphis.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hadn't thought about or understood the importance. And then as the months went on and I met with more and more people, it really became evident just how important this university is to this city. And that is incredibly unique. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in a college town, right, a small town that's just built around the university, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But to be in a major metropolitan area, you absolutely do not see that. I don't know of anything like this in the country. You look at the University of Houston doesn't have that relationship with the city. Mm-hmm. Georgia Tech doesn't have that relationship with the city. University of Cincinnati does not have that relationship with the city. And we could go on and on.
Right.
This university is so incredibly important to this city and this community. That's the thing that really struck me.
Yeah. And so since we are talking about the city, I want to know, when you're not on campus, what's your favorite thing to do around the city?
Almost anything outdoors. So I like to golf, and there's great golf courses here. There's also, I discovered the Green Line. If you're not familiar with that,
I've heard of it.
For biking and running, and there's trails. I love to run and I love to mountain bike, and so I get out and do those things.
So anything nature related.
Anything nature related.
We can catch you there.
I like to get outdoors.
Okay, I love that. So as you might know, our podcast slogan is home of business, barbecue, and the blues. So I have to ask you, what's your favorite barbecue spot in the city?
You can't ask me that.
I have to.
I mean, it's like asking me which of my children is the favorite. Ooh. Come on now.
so many
if
choices.
I tell you this barbecue place over the other one, then I'm going to make all these others mad, and I'm going to make somebody really happy. I'm going to believe it this. I love barbecue, and we have incredible barbecue in this city. And I will say, I thought the city from a food scene was known for the barbecue, and it is, but this is a foodie town.
Yeah.
We have amazing restaurants here. So I love my barbecue, but I also love a lot of other foods here.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a great answer, actually. So for those who may not know your story, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became the president of the university?
Well, I come from a long line of college presidents. Both my parents were college presidents. Wow. Both my sisters were college presidents. Both my brothers were college presidents. And so I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm like, whoa, it's in the family tree. I was actually believing. That's funny. Okay.
Not even close. It's actually 180 degrees different than that. I'm the first person in my family on either side of the family tree to ever graduate high school.
Wow.
So I grew up in a very rural part of Arkansas, 7 miles to the closest paved road. If you can wrap your mind around that. My graduating high school class had 23 people in it.
Whoa.
Very rural. My dad was a construction worker. My mom worked in a shoe factory, and the goal for the kids was to get through the 10th grade in 16 and then drop out. And that's what everybody before me had. My younger brother did graduate high school, but didn't go to college. So for me to be a college president is about as far as you can get removed from my upbringing.
Congrats to you for that. When you mentioned your high school class having 23, I went to Hardin Academy. It's like right down the street on Cherry Road. I believe I had like 36.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I can relate to you
Yeah.
with having a small class. But I do want to know what early experiences in your career helped shape who you are today? Because I know you touched on your family, but like
Yeah.
as you were going through high school, when did you realize I'm going to make this change?
I wished I could say I had a plan. I did not. Um, I actually went to college because I thought I was going to play basketball.
Oh, you had hooper dreams.
That had hooper dreams. Honestly, that's what got me to college.
Yeah.
And then I found out, oh, I better figure out something else to do because I'm not going to make a living playing basketball.
Yeah, gotta pivot.
I got to pivot very quickly, and so I did. And it just one door. Again, thinking about where I came from to go to college was a stretch. And then I did a couple of software startup companies. This was at the time when personal computers were really growing, and I had an opportunity to do a couple of things in the IT space. And then a door opened for me to go to get my master's degree, and then a door opened for me to get my PhD. And by the way, I didn't know what any of those things were. When somebody said to me one time when I was working on my master's, they said, you really ought to get your PhD. And I said, what is that? I honestly didn't know. And so just kind of through a series of things. So I did get my PhD from Oklahoma State, got my undergraduate from Arkansas Tech, my master's from Missouri State, got my PhD from Oklahoma State. University of Arkansas offered me a job.
Yeah.
I was there for 17 years. Auburn University called me out of the blue and said, we'd like to talk to you about being the dean of the business school. 10 months later, I was in Auburn, Alabama as the dean of the business school. And then I did that for about 8 years. And then they asked me to be the vice president of the university. And I did. And then University of Memphis called one day. And a few months later, I was here as president.
Yes, sir. Wow. That's a long line of education, but I know you had to do a lot of waiting throughout that process as well. What were those waiting periods like for you?
Well, it really wasn't waiting because I didn't have that next step planned out.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I mean, I did the software startups and then decided I need to pivot, and a door opened for me to, hey, get your master's degree, and then a door opened, and then none of these doors were expected. Right. I wasn't waiting for that door to open because I didn't even know the door existed.
Yeah.
And it's like when I went to the University of Arkansas as a faculty member, I was completely content with just being a faculty member. I loved it. I was doing my PhDs in information systems. I loved the IT work I was doing. I was working with great companies. I was loving it until somebody called me and said, we'd like to talk to you about being the dean of business. And honestly, I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah.
So there was no waiting because I really didn't know.
You were content with the pace at which you were going.
I was content with where I was in that space and time.
Yeah. I think that goes to something that I've been told growing up is do the best where you are right then and then watch and see what doors will open and what doors will come.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What I do want to know, because I know for me it was shocking to hear you had hooper dreams, but touching on a different thing is
wait a second. Why is that shocking?
Well, it's not every day you get to sit down, talk to the president, and you hear that he likes to play basketball and golf and be on the green line, So that was just surprising to me. But about being the university president, what do you think something in your role would be surprising to our students, alumni, to everyone?
I don't think most people would find it surprising that every day is different. I never have 2 days
that are the same.
Never, ever. Probably something that people might find surprising or interesting is that when I'm not traveling, so when I'm here, I try to spend at least 30 minutes of my day walking around campus. And that's just walking around looking at the grounds, walking through buildings, just enjoying the campus and seeing the students and the faculty and staff about. I try to get out of my office. On campus.
I can prove that as being true. One day I was walking and I was heading to the UC and I thought I saw you, but I was like, there's no way he's just walking right now with nobody else with him. So I just kept going. But now that you said that, I wish I would have stopped and said hello. But that is true.
I think it does surprise people when they see me. It's
like there's nobody.
Because people say, are you the president? I said, yeah. It's like, what are you doing out here by yourself?
There's nobody with you, So that is surprising to me. I've done some research on the UofM Ascend plan, and I wanted to touch on that. How do you feel that we're doing as a university with that plan being in play?
Yeah, no, the higher education landscape is really shifting quickly. when we put the Ascend strategy together in 2023, we spent most of 2022 really understanding where we're at, where higher education was going, and where we needed to position ourselves. I think we have a really good plan in place. Yes, some things have changed since that time, and we shift with the plan. But the plan as a structure is really has proven to be quite good.
Yeah.
If you look at where we're at on some of these major things like fundraising, we had the best fundraising year that we've ever had in the history of the university. When you look at what's happening in athletics, we had arguably the best year in athletics we've ever had, right? If you look at research, we topped $100 million in research last year. It's double from what we did 2 years ago. Amazing. But there are some things that we learned along the way as well, that we were really looking at the data and the plan of really talking about aggressively providing access, and then ensuring the students are successful, and with that came our commitment to a successful outcome for every student, and really owning that, and ensuring that we have the things that lead to good outcomes, having the programs in place. But it also led us to realize that in the admissions process, we were admitting students who were not ready yet to be successful.
Right.
And we just, as when we started looking at the data, it became clear look, some of these students, they were not ready for the University of Memphis, and to let them in and then to fail, that nobody wins, right?
Yeah.
When that happens. And so we raised our admissions criteria a couple of years ago, and then worked with our 2-year system to send those who weren't quite ready to our 2-year system, so that then we could get them back. That was a pretty big change for us, but it's actually turned out to be quite a good change. Quality of students better, the retention is better, the success of our students is better.
And I do just want to ask you, just to get a quick overview, because I know I've done my research on the plan, but to those who don't, if you had to describe it in like 30 words, what would you describe the U of M Ascend plan as? Not saying you have to count them all.
The plan, the strategic plan is the roadmap for us to be a nationally recognized public research university.
Yeah, I love that.
That's it.
I know that you have your own project that you do. It's called the President Perspective, which I was lucky enough to be on, and it was an honor to be one of your guests. But can you tell us more about that platform and why it's so important to you to continue on doing it?
We started the President's Perspective right after we had released this strategic plan. The Board of Trustees had adopted the strategic plan in March of 23. And our communications folks I think they were kind of struggling with, well, how do we tell people about the strategic plan without just saying, here's the strategic plan, which can kind of be boring to read, right? But how do you get that across? And so somebody in that group came up with the idea, hey, let's just do a video. Okay, well, let's do a video. But the key is it has to be short. So how do you communicate a strategic plan in 2.5 to 3 minutes? Right. That's the challenge, right? It's easy to go, to do something for 30 minutes. It's like one of those
easier said than done type situations.
Yeah. Right. What was it, Mark Twain that said, if I'd have had more time, I'd have written a shorter letter, right? Because it's harder.
It gets the point across too, though.
It's right. It's harder to be short than it is long. And so we did the first one, and then we did a series of them, right, to kind of lay out elements of the strategic plan. And after the second or third one, the communications folks were coming back to me and saying, well, we're really getting a great reception. People really seem to like these. The open rate and the watch rate is incredibly high. What do you think about just continuing to do these? And so we went from that genesis of talking about the strategic plan to then just talking about, whether it's just kind of leadership or life lessons tips that I would provide, or introducing the university to people and places on campus that they may not know exist, like having you on, right? It was, we've gotten such good response, like, well, I didn't even know that we were doing that. And what a great opportunity for our students and for the Fogelman College to be doing this. So it has just turned into a really great series. And I did share a funny story. We were probably a year or so into this, and my wife and I were at a football game, and we move around the whole time during a football game, and we were walking actually up through the stands. And as we're walking up through, there was a guy sitting on the the bleachers there, and he said, "Hey, President." I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Man, I watch your president's perspective every week. I love them." I said, "What do you like about them?" He said, "They're short."
Right.
And you know what? That's it, right? The key is to keep them short. And if you think about, my viewing habits are kind of the same way. If I get something and I see, this is going to be, I've got to commit a half an hour to this. Well, that's a different thing, right? I may commit to that if I can listen to it, on the drive home or something. But if I'm going to watch something, it better be short.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause,
I think I even try to keep that in mind because as well as hosting the podcast, I'm the marketing and communications associate for Fogelman. So like when I'm coming up with different posts or different videos that I want to upload, I try not to even go over a minute because I'm like, if I'm a student and I'm scrolling on my phone, I want to see something that's going to catch me right in the first 5 seconds of the video, honestly.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Yeah.
I feel like you're doing a great job. I love the perspective.
Yeah.
I know I love when I'm able to see my friends. Like you've had Susie and Chris Bailey, David Webster, like those are the
amazing
things,
people.
Yes, and I love that I'm able to see students that I actually know, and I'm like, this is great. It's just such a highlight, honestly. What advice would you try to give students who are trying to find their purpose and their passion while they're in college?
One of the things that I've noticed about students, and I have 2 children, and my daughter graduated about 4 years ago, and my son graduated about 8 months ago. And so I got to kind of see through them and through their friends almost too much pressure that they put on themselves to think that they had to have everything scripted. That, okay, I'm going to go to college and here's where I'm going to go and I'm going to major in this and, this is what's going to happen and this is the type of job. And they wanted everything so scripted. And then if it doesn't go to plan,
it's an immediate,
stress. It gets really stressful, right?
I can relate.
And can you? Yeah, and is that a true statement about many of your friends? Where it's like, everything has to be scripted.
It's just because I feel like as students we put such high expectations on ourselves, and I'll even speak from my own point of view. Like I am a student who's able to go here based off of scholarship, so it's like I have to have a set grade average to be able to keep my housing, and then with the podcast I have to make sure that I'm on top of that, and then being a part of different student organizations like PAWS and BSA, it's a lot of pressure. So when things don't go as planned, it's first habit to want to panic, but I have gotten better with, I call them my crash outs. I've been trying not to have my crash outs, and I just take a breath and then it goes back to normal. So I can relate to that.
Yeah,
sure.
and so one of the things that I try to do when I talk to students is, look, it's great to have a plan, man, I love it if you have a plan, but don't get so married to the plan that it stresses you and causes you grief if your plan doesn't work out. And I use myself as an example. There's no way I could have planned out my life as it is. Mm-hmm. Absolutely no possible way, right? That we, as I told you earlier,
all the way from Arkansas.
We didn't sit around the table talking about being a university president. I didn't even know what that was, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to take the life as it unfolds, and don't be concerned if you can't script it. If you can't script it, fine, but don't get hung up on that. One of the wonderful things about college, and I really stress this with our college students because I sometimes think, that they lose sight of this. This is the place to find out who you are.
And stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the place to mess up. It's the place to try new things, right? So try those new things. If it doesn't work, that's okay, right? You're gonna fail a lot, probably fail more in your life than you're going to succeed. It's how you handle that failure that defines you, not your successes.
Yeah. I love that you touched on the failure. It kind of reminds me of this thing that's going around campus now. Like, whenever things mess up, they say, whoop-de-doo. Like, whoop-de-doo. There's nothing you can do about that. Yeah. It's like, you should say that. Next time something goes wrong, or like, if you're talking to your kids, because they'll probably understand it more, just be like, whoop-de-doo. And then they're gonna bust out laughing.
Okay.
I promise. So with you talking about messing up, I wanted to ask you, has there ever been a time where you faced a moment where you didn't know what step to take next, and how did you direct yourself when that time came?
There's been a lot of those times.
Yeah.
Right. You go all the way back to when I went to college. The should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Right? When I went to college, if basketball's not working out, then what do I do? There's so many inflection points. But, as a leader, one of the things that I have done, and I had to learn to do this, is that when you're facing a tough decision, especially, as president, and we've got some tough decisions on lots of different things, I don't make that decision in a vacuum. I don't sit in my office by myself and say, this is the decision we're going to make. I consult a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I get a lot of different perspectives. And then ultimately, if I'm the decision maker, I'll make that decision. But I won't do it unless I've talked to a lot of different people with different backgrounds and perspectives and ideas and approaching a problem. Because if you just view it through one lens, what you'll find is most problems are not that simple.
Yeah.
Right? They're multifaceted. And if you just look at it through this, you may miss some really important things about those decisions. So I always surround myself with great people, and I consult those folks. And then the other thing I do is once I make a decision, I let it go and I move on.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in my career in leadership positions, I would just beat myself up over a decision after it was made, because I'd go. I mean, as soon as I'd make the decision, then I'd analyze it 20 different ways.
Why did I do that? Maybe
why did I do that? I should have done this.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose other than just make you miserable, right?
Right.
So I decided a long time
ago. Overthinking.
100%, right? Because once you make the decision, you just move on. And, I've seen too many times where somebody's made a decision and they start agonizing. Oh, no, I want to change my mind. Let's do something different. And then you start doing something different. Oh, no, wait, I want to do. And then you actually just get frozen with just,
what
moving
am I
back.
going to do?
Look, make a decision, feel comfortable with your decision, and then you let it go and you move on. Now, at some point later, you may find, oh, that was not a good decision. And then at that point, you do look back, right, and you say, all right, today is 6 months after the decision. That I now look and say that was not a good decision I made 6 months ago. Why wasn't it a good decision? What you'll find most of the time is that, you know what, I now know more 6 months into it than I did then.
Yeah, 6 months before.
Yeah, and if I'd have had that information then, I would have made a different decision. But I didn't. So I can't go back and beat myself up over a decision that I made.
About giving yourself grace.
Yeah,
too.
when I didn't have the information. So yeah, it is giving yourself grace.
Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, you started off in industry, and then you went on to faculty and then administrative, and now being the president. So I wanted to know, how did those shape your leadership style today?
Every experience that we have shapes my leadership style. I mean, we're all shaped by our experiences, whether positive or negative. But, for me, not, as we talked about, not really having that path laid out, right? Not a scripted thing. Really, each of those experiences then shaped what that next step was. And, for me to be in higher education now, because, again, I started off in thought I was playing basketball, and then it was computer science, and then, doing software startups, and it's like, now you're a college president. Well, one of the things, and I'll just share with you a couple of things there along the way, was, first of all, when I talk about the benefit of higher education, right? I'm the living embodiment of how higher education can change the trajectory of someone's life.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
full 180.
Full 180,
Yeah.
right? Without higher education, I'm not here sitting with you. Right? All of my family is still within 5 miles of where I grew up. And that's fine. But for me, the path out was higher education.
Right.
And honestly, in many of those twists and turns, and we could spend a lot of time talking about how crazy some of the things that happened to me caused me to go a different direction. But I have to share with you one of the things that was kind of a eureka moment for me, because, again, I'd been in software startups, and then got my master's because I wanted to get out of software startups, and, IBM had offered me a job. And so master's degree. And then somebody there said, hey, you ought to get your PhD. And, so I went down that path. But I really wasn't sure why I was going down that path, right? It was like, okay, that seems, reasonable, like something that, I would enjoy. But I took my first academic job was at the University of Arkansas. And I'm a brand new assistant professor. First week on the job, just newly minted PhD. We had a new dean at the time, greatest dean I've ever had. And he had a town hall meeting. And at the end of the town hall, he was taking questions. And he said, he said, one more, time for one more question. And the young lady, I remember this like it was yesterday, and this was a long time ago.
Okay.
She said, and I think she was trying to kind of trip him up, right? And she said,
you always have that one that's going to try to trip,
exactly,
trip
right?
someone up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And she said, Dean Williams, what's the meaning of life? And without hesitation, he said, to make a difference. And that was kind of oh my gosh, that's why I'm here. Is to make a difference, because I, in higher education as a faculty member, had an opportunity to make a difference in the students who took my classes. So I embraced that. I loved it. And, and I think I made a difference in my students' lives. And then and then I started research centers, and I was making more of a difference. And then when I became a dean, now I was over a college that had 5,000 students, so I could even make a bigger difference. And then I went to be vice president, and I had a bigger role. And then as president, I have 22,000 opportunities to make a difference every day. And so that drives what I do. That drives my decision making. That drives, my zeal to come to work every day, because there's 22,000 opportunities to make a difference.
I think you should share that story more often. I didn't know that. I don't think students know that about you. And I really think that would help connect you even more, honestly.
Yeah. It is something that it's funny, because probably for the first 15, 20 years I was in higher education, I never shared that story. Because I was in higher education, I'm surrounded by people with PhDs, and almost everybody came from a family that had PhDs, and, from all these great schools, and, you're supposed to you got a PhD and you're a faculty member. I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And so there did reach a time where it's like, you know what, I need to embrace this and not be embarrassed.
I feel like that's what sets you apart, though. Because then it also shows, like, I'm not afraid to go to school, to leave my home. Like, it shows that you're not afraid to step out and to make a difference in what you're doing. I mean, when you meet the president, you think, oh, well, he must have come from a high family background. Like, I know he went to Yale. He went to Harvard. He probably wanted to go to law school. Like, Hooper dreams never would have crossed my mind.
Went to play basketball, got a PhD in information systems.
Yeah, never would have thought that. But I just feel like that's what makes you unique.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And before we close out, I first want to thank you for coming and joining the podcast, but I also want to thank you for not being afraid to share your story, because I feel like with the times that we're growing up in now in our city in Memphis, lots of students may feel like they don't have that opportunity to step out in higher education. Like, they feel like, well, my mom didn't go to school, my dad didn't go to school, so I don't have to. And I love that you touched on that, and you're not afraid to share your story, to show them you can, and you can grow, and you can be challenged, and you can step into those doors and be willing to step up like you did. So I do want to thank you for that, and thank you for sharing with us today.
100%. Look, what I hope people, especially prospective students or students who are doubting, I hope they can look at me and say, look, if that guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I mean, because seriously, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course.
And I wish you the very best in all that you do.
Thank you. And to our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for joining me for my first completed season of Business in Blue. This has been All Things Business, All Things Memphis. Bye.